welcome back to another episode of Midas Letter RAW. Today's Friday, thank God, it's almost over. The weekend, the week, the cold snap, all the rain, all the snow, it's almost over. Finally, we'll be
natural gas is collapsing.
The price of natural gas is collapsing.
Well, collapsing is a strong word, but you'd think it'd be going up, and it's dropping.
In this weather, yes.
It's dropped from about, well, it was around 290, 295. They came out with some numbers on yesterday morning, and it's now, I think, down to under 280.
Well, I'm going to go buy some.
Soft. This is a very sophisticated market.
It's sophisticated, is it?
Well, they're already saying, hey, winter's almost over, and it's going to be 10 degrees Celsius in Chicago tomorrow.
Oh, well, that's why the epicenter of the futures trading universe is Chicago.
Yeah, but it's also about the weather in New York City.
So these guys just look out the window and go, storm's ending, sell gas.
I think they got sophisticated models. I think the weather people know later.
Here's their sophisticated model. Getting overclass, buy gas.
You want some natural gas? I got natural gas.
Oh, Ed, beans, close to my heart. The more you eat, the more you fart.
The more you fart, the better you feel.
Oh, that's so juvenile. The level of our discourse is going straight down the tube.
Scatological
tubes, yes. Alas.
Tube.
You know, I heard an interesting story that a major Canadian newspaper that's national in scope was inquiring about one of the people we've had on as guests. They said, are you guys working with them? Because if you are, you won't be working with us. I thought that was intriguing.
Oh, they're afraid.
I would be naming names, but I need a little bit more evidence.
So let's see, let's narrow it down. So it's either the Toronto Star.
National. Toronto Star is a city newspaper.
Oh, you're talking about business newspapers.
Well, how many national newspapers are there in Canada?
I would say 2.
Well, there's one. Because the National Post is essentially a charitable fund for the remaining media for the far right in Canada because it can't make money. At least that's what we thought. There's a new CEO.
Wait a minute now. You think the Financial Post is... What about the Globe? The Globe is as right as they get, isn't it?
Well, you know, in Canada, we don't really have far left except the Prime Minister. I could have fun with this all day. I'm sorry, we have a simple rule around here. Let's not talk about politics because they're like opinions.
You know, there's a famous horse called Phar Lap. And how do you think they spelled Phar?
P-H-A-R. On today's show, I don't know why I knew that.
I'm trying to get...
Surprise, surprise, surprise. Ricky Nurse Gerwitz is going to read the news. Then, of course, Ed and I are going to wax poetic over charts and data. Charts and data. Then we're going to have the CEO from Canada House Wellness, Chris Churchill, will be here. 3:30, Alison Gordon, the scintillating, lovely, and talented Alison Gordon will join us from, she's the CEO of 48 North. Yeah. Then at 4 o'clock, we'll have a little more market close chart analysis for 10 Mark Noble from Horizon ETFs will be here. And at 4:26, as has become our Friday tradition, we shall look at some of the more embarrassing things that we have done on the show over the prior week. Now, that all being said, it's 3:05, and here is the super fabulous news nurse, Ricky Gerwitz, with the news.
Thanks, James, and here are the headlines moving markets today. Liberty Health Sciences secured GMP certification at a second cultivation, manufacturing, and processing facility in Florida. The GMP certification covers the company's 10,000 square foot facility, allowing for a state-of-the-art extraction and processing area. Aphria Inc. has completed its first transfer of plant cuttings from 4 of the company's cannabis strains to Denmark-based Schroll Medical as part of the company's previously announced strategic partnership with Schroll. The shipment was completed under permits issued by relevant health authorities, including an export permit from Health Canada and an import permit from Danish Medicines Agency. The Supreme Cannabis Company announced its listed securities are expected to commence trading on the Toronto Stock Exchange on February 4th, 2019. At that time, Supreme Cannabis's common shares and 6% senior unsecured convertible debentures due 2021 will be voluntarily delisted from the TSX Venture Exchange and will commence trading on the TSX under the symbols FIRE and FIRE.DB. Namaste Technologies announced an update to its previously announced intention to acquire UK-based AF Trading Limited. Under the previously announced terms, Namaste's wholly owned subsidiary, Namaste Bahamas Inc., expected to acquire all of the issued and outstanding shares of Access Fulfillment for $5 million US, which was intended to enable Namaste to retain Access Fulfillment to operate as an exclusive distribution center for CBD and cannabis products in the UK. Namaste has since elected to use another provider. However, under the terms of the new letter of intent with the principal shareholders of Access Fulfillment, Namaste Bahamas will now acquire 100% of the issued and outstanding shares of CanMart Limited, a subsidiary formed by the AF principals for purposes of holding the pharmaceutical distribution license previously filed by Access Fulfillment. In addition, Namaste will procure that CanMart UK enters into a consulting agreement with the AF principals to secure their services for a minimum of 2 years. Delta 9 Cannabis Inc. has closed the previously announced sale of its 50% interest in the Delta West extraction facility to Westleaf Inc. Pursuant to the transaction, Westleaf has issued an aggregate of 5,600,000 common shares in the capital of Westleaf to Delta 9 in consideration for the acquisition of Delta 9's 50% interest in the limited partnership that owns the Delta West extraction facility. Westleaf has also closed the acquisition of all the issued and outstanding shares of Candera for an aggregate purchase price of $48.4 million. The purchase price was paid by the issuance of an aggregate 21 million common shares in the capital of Westleaf at a deemed value of $2.24 per share. And that's your news for today.
Bunch of interesting news there, wouldn't you say, Edward? Which one makes you most, sort of excited?
Which one?
Which news item of those?
I think the second one.
The second one, the Aphria announcing its first transfer of plant cuttings from their company's cannabis strains.
It just saves me time to say that.
Right.
Because I know you're going to say
and have me read it instead of you trying to remember what it was. I get it. Supreme moved up to the TSX senior board today. That's an achievement.
I'd say that's a supreme achievement.
A supreme achievement, Edward. Oh, good one.
Yeah.
And then the Westleaf acquisition. I thought that was pretty interesting too.
Yeah, you see, Chiron got to 313 in the morning, and then dropped all the way down to 250 something. Now it's back to 265, 270, but well through the band yesterday on that action.
Yeah.
Big mover.
Yeah.
Big mover and shaker.
What about Weekend Unlimited? Symbol YOLO announced today that they had won the symbol POT.
You think they actually? Who would they bid for? Like, would they actually pay the exchange to get that symbol?
Well, it would be an asset, arguably, of the company that lost it, and it would be like something the creditors would try to monetize.
Oh, somebody had it and they lost it.
That's my understanding.
Oh, okay. What about pan? Pot and pan.
Pots and pans? You mean like weapons?
No, everybody wants the name pot. Why wouldn't they want the name pan?
What have we got in the way? What's going on in the S&P, Ed? Never mind that.
Yeah, the S&P.
Never mind that silly bullshit. What else you got?
Silly bullshit. Silly bullshit. So here we got interesting development.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, is the chart up?
No, can't see no chart.
I don't see any chart.
This is ground control to Major Tom. I'm stepping through the door.
Big employment news. They were expecting an additional 175,000 jobs created last month. They got 300,000. Everybody went, whoa.
What, that's in the U.S. news?
Yeah.
Isn't that? But according to Donald Trump, that's fake news.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to argue about fake or not.
Or is it only fake when it's bad for him, and then otherwise it's good news?
There's a bit of a bias there. There's no question. We've got a new high on this run, and we've got a bit of a pullback. Red candle alert. Red candle with a big wick.
Woo!
Silly wabbit. Anyway.
Look at that. Chronos Group is on fire.
The pot stocks are on fire, but look I gotta believe that since they've participated with this run, if this, I'm not gonna try and call a top, but that's a bad candle. And
that's a bad candle, says Ed.
It's a bad candle.
Really?
Who's just said that?
So, but let's see, if we look at that chart, there's a few bad candles in the matrix, arguably. Why, just because it had a big wick?
No, because it was a new high on this run, and it's now below yesterday's close.
Okay.
So you know, like just it's like a upside down hammer.
Yeah.
Or it's a hammer upside down.
A hammer standing up.
It's, you know, Thor is ready to.
Yeah.
You know who Thor is, don't you?
Thor. I'm so Thor I can barely speak.
Got a thunder.
Yeah, got a thunder and lightning.
Yeah, and Loki, who's his crazy buddy.
Right.
And then there's
the drinking buddy.
Odin.
Odin.
The fodder.
I got a buddy named Odin.
He's the fodder.
I got a buddy named Odin.
Okay, so
actually, Odin, if you're listening, Cannabis House Party tonight at my house starting at 5 p.m. We're going to create content around the sampling of 12 varieties of cannabis from the Ontario Cannabis Store. Some real connoisseurs are going to be on hand.
When's that party?
That's tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, not tonight. Sorry, tomorrow night.
Wait a minute, you asked me to be there tomorrow night, and you're telling everybody it's tonight.
Well, actually, I'm only telling you it's tomorrow night. Everybody else, you know, if you're not the fish, if you don't know who the fish is.
Yeah.
Anyways. So yes, multiple things are in the air in the cannabis space. I heard an interesting speculation about a large company who shall go nameless, but I suspect that it is true.
Takeover activity?
Beyond that, not takeover activity, but large investment from a global conglomerate brand on the scale of Altria and Constellation.
Really?
And so, and on the company side, on the scale of Kronos and Canopy. And I don't think I need to whisper that in your ear because, come on, all you have to do is have just much little imagination.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Starts with A?
Aurora, I mean, Canada House Wellness Group CEO Chris Churchill-Smith is going to join me next, and
via Skype or live?
No, I think he's actually here in the studio.
Okay.
And
on that note.
And on that note, it's time for you to get the hell out of here.
I'm gonna make some tracks here.
Canada House is an integrated medical cannabis company providing patent-specific cannabinoid therapy products and services through its clinics and licensed producer. The company is headquartered in Pickering, Ontario, and led by CEO Chris Churchill-Smith. Canada House is listed on the CSE under the ticker CHV.
Okay, good.
Confirm.
All right, because I was like, Canada House Wellness, I know the CEO. His name's not Chris. What are you guys trying to pull a fast one on me here? Clearly that's changed. Hey, I'm with the CEO of Canada House Wellness now, Chris Churchill. Sorry, it was a hyphenated.
That's right, Chris Churchill-Smith.
Chris Churchill-Smith.
You're halfway there.
All right, Chris, it's first time we're meeting. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. Now, let's start off for those with the gnat-like attention span and memory that I have. What does Canada Wellness House do?
So Canada House Wellness, ticker CHV on the Canadian Stock Exchange, is an integrated cannabinoid therapy company with 3 subsidiaries, Canada House Clinics, APHA, our licensed producer, and Canalysis Technologies, which is our technology platform where we're developing a proprietary cannabis patient management software for our 12,000 registered patients on Canada House Clinics.
Interesting. That's a multifaceted approach. Okay, so tell me, how do you? How's your revenue picture right now? How's the how's the company progressing?
So on the Canada House Clinic side, we have 10 clinics around Canada. We produce between $4 to $5 million worth of revenue per year on an annualized basis from education and service fees charged to licensed producers for the front-end work of educating the patients and then registering them on licensed producers to receive their medicine. Our APHA, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Canada House, of Canada House Wellness Group, is our licensed producer on Canada House. Excuse me, on the Health Canada website. And we just had a wonderful Christmas present on the 24th. We received our sales license, completing the trifecta of having our our cultivation license, our processing license, and now our sales license. So we're very happy with the progress that the licensed producer Abamedics is making over its progression. And we're coming up to the completion of our Pickering facility. So right now we have about 22,000 square feet of indoor controlled grow space in Pickering, Ontario, and we expect that to produce on an annualized basis between 2,000 to 3,000 kilos of premium craft cannabis per year.
Wow, so now you can sell your own cannabis to everybody at your clinics.
Well, we'll be adding Abamedics as one of the 25 licensed producers from which our clients or our patients will be able to choose from.
Okay, so that's quite the evolution from where I recall the story starting, which was focused more on education, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's exactly where the company started. So the roots of the company are really with the military veterans. So we have a landmark clinic in Oromocto, New Brunswick, which was founded by two military veterans. Really, kind of the etymology and the kind of the genesis of the company started with providing cannabinoid therapy services to the veteran community, founded by two military veterans, Fabian Henry and Mike Southwell. From there, and basically, they were providing services to their fellow veterans that came back from operations in far parts of the world, coming back with operational stress disorders, and helping them access the Veterans Affairs Canada program that allows for the full reimbursement of cannabis for military veterans. Since then, we've opened up 9 additional clinics across Canada, and we're very happy to announce that on Monday we'll be inviting the Mayor of Fredericton, Mike O'Brien, for a ribbon cutting ceremony with one of our board members, Norm Betts, for the opening of our 11th clinic.
Wow, that's great. So that's real progress. What are the sort of steps that you have to go through to take it to, what is your sort of long-term game plan to go to the next level?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we're looking at it, if I can just bifurcate the conversation on the clinic side and then on the production side, on the licensed producer side. So on the clinic side, we're really trying to become the go-to institutionalized clinic providing process and diligenced treatment for our patients. And what we're trying to accomplish is to become very friendly with the payers of the big insurance companies that are going to come in and eventually reimburse cannabis, and group insurance and workers' comp and so on and so forth. And one of the problems we're seeing in the industry is that there tends to be quite a bit of recreational users that are using prescriptions to access cannabis. If the payers are going to come in and feel comfortable with this, there needs to be a process and there needs to be turn down rates. And that's something that Alex Crone, who we just brought in as the president of Canada House Clinics in August, has been tasked with to kind of flesh out those processes, understand the markets and the payers better, and then implement on that strategy. Typically, if I may, the opening of the clinics around Canada is largely based on next to military bases. We're very comfortable with our processes now, and we're looking to kind of expand that service offering, of course, to non-military patients and all Canadians, with a real focus on boomers and seniors markets, and are targeting larger urban centers like the GTA, like Vancouver, like Montreal, and so on and so forth. So you've seen a lot of Canada House Clinics have a presence in mostly secondary cities, and you'll see that kind of continue because of our obligation and part of the moral fabric of Canada House with the veterans. We'll continue to, of course, service that population, but of course we feel that we have a service offering that can be applicable to all Canadians. Okay, so does at this point, does Canada reimburse all veterans for cannabis prescriptions related to PTSD and or other operational stress disorders? Yeah, very good question. So if you're a military veteran and you have a diagnosed condition with a prescription, 100% of the cost of cannabis is reimbursable by Veterans Affairs Canada, which is a program administered by Medavie Blue Cross. But not all Canadians, of course. I mean, this is just very specific to the military veterans. And the range of dosages, of course, ranges from up to 3 grams a day. And with a second level assessment, they are able to have prescriptions that go up to 10 grams a day as well. Wow, 10 grams a day. Yeah. Boy, I wouldn't be able to do anything else if I was consuming 10 grams of cannabis a day. All right, so then
besides, so what is the size of the veteran component of the cannabis market?
Yeah, so we have 12,000 registered patients. About approximately half are active, ordering on a monthly basis, and of that, of the active monthly orders, about half of them are military veterans. So you can probably safely assume between 22 to 27, almost 3,000 of our patients are military veterans, and we expect to see significant growth in that subsection of the population, and of course on the other non-veteran demographic as well.
Interesting. Are there international plans afoot for Canada House?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I may, on the Abomedics front, our Canada House Wellness is 100% owned licensed producer. We've recently announced a partnership with Cannabis 15, which will allow us, that's basically the first step in achieving EU GMP certification. So one of the big challenges that any licensed producer faces is really establishing a strong distribution network.
Right.
We feel, of course, that Canada within the medical market and the recreational market is of course a very interesting market in our own backyard, but also being able to establish meaningful distribution channels outside of Canada with a focus on the European Union is of great importance to Canada House, and that's why we chose and made the investment and training our staff so that we're EU GMP compliant to be able to fulfill that. Okay,
so is there a focus on veterans in the European context, or is that more broadly just a medical focus?
That's more broadly a medical focus. There are plans, and we're looking very selectively at different markets outside of Canada to where we can apply the knowledge that we have and the experience that we've accumulated with the veterans.
Right.
Of course, there are a number of countries around the world that are looking at this very seriously for allowing access to cannabis for the veterans, and we feel that we have a very strong understanding and knowledge base that we can share with these other countries. Excuse me.
Can I ask quickly, what was your last capital raise, at what price, how much did you raise?
Yeah, so this predates me. There was a capital initiative that was completed at the end of 2017, early 2018, which was a convertible debenture with a conversion price of 19 cents, which escalated up in early December to, I believe, 40 cents.
Okay.
We've been very focused on putting our heads down and operating and building a company. And now that we're really kind of at the end of the construction phase of Pickering, which will see us moving plants into the vegetation room imminently, you're going to be hearing a lot more from us as we ramp up into perpetual production in the middle of this year.
Wow, fantastic. All right, Chris, we're going to leave it there for now. That's a great update on the company. I look forward to having you back and continuing to follow the story. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Okay, so some Canadian workers can't smoke cannabis even when they are off duty. Liz West has more.
We all know you can't drink alcohol on the job unless you're a bartender, and you can't smoke recreational cannabis either. But what about getting high after work? Well, for safety-sensitive positions like transit workers, smoking recreational cannabis might not be a crime, but it might cost them their livelihood. Metrolinx is an organization that recently implemented a new policy which prohibits employees from partaking in the smoking of recreational cannabis even outside of work hours. We spoke to employment and human rights lawyer Samantha Lucifora to find out how many of us could be affected by these kinds of policies.
My general response would be that I do not believe that the employer is going to get away with this, but it does depend on the particular context. So for instance, in the unionized setting, the union could grieve this type of policy as being not rational or reasonable. And I would think that as it is drafted now, which is that there's a general prohibition on any sort of consumption of cannabis, I would think that that would fail. And so I would think that the union would be successful in grieving that this policy is overly broad and it's not rational or reasonable. Effectively, the employer would then, in that instance, have to prove or substantiate that any cannabis consumption at any time off duty would continue to impair the worker while they're in the workplace to the degree that they can no longer do their job safely. And so I think that that would certainly not be able to be possible. And so I do think that the policy is certainly overly broad.
After the initial cognitive effects subside, are there any residual effects that should concern employers?
The cognitive effects of cannabis use can definitely vary. It can vary based on the mode of administration, so whether you're smoking it versus ingesting it in like oil or an edible like a candy form. It also definitely depends on the individualized user as well as the strain, so the relative concentrations and overall strength of both THC and CBD. But your average recreational cannabis user can expect some sort of cognitive effects for upwards of 6 to 8 hours. You have to be very careful whenever you're working in the public domain, and public safety is obviously got to be the #1 importance for these types of companies. So they need to make sure that their employees aren't obviously risking that public safety. The analogy of having a glass of wine and then going to work the next morning, I think is very fair. I don't think that using cannabis the night before and then going to your work the next day would necessarily impact your ability or necessarily impact public safety in general.
I think Metrolinx, the purpose behind this type of policy is for safety. I think they want to ensure that there is no impairment, and so they're trying to cast the net broadly in hopes that no one comes to the office impaired. But I do think that they certainly haven't given due consideration to the way it will affect employees, particularly with respect to human rights. So I think that they're concerned with health and safety, but I think that they've overstepped into an area where they don't necessarily have to be concerned. I could see this type of policy appearing in many different types of workplaces around the world, particularly people who deal with the public. So for instance, obviously transportation, doctors, people who work in hospitals or retirement homes, people who care for others. So I do think it's going to be important to sort of hone in on what the real issue is and then focus on drafting the policies narrowly enough to protect that interest, but also not to infringe on someone's enjoyment of life outside of the workplace.
We did reach out to Metrolinx, asked them to do an interview for this story. They declined, but did send us this comment. Our priority is the safety of our customers and our services. Safety cannot ever be jeopardized. Because of the effects of cannabis on people who use it, we have to ensure that those employees in specific safety roles are not using cannabis before coming on duty. For Midas Letter Live, I'm Liz West.
Ed, I think it's time we incorporated a rule that if you ever smoke weed, because public safety is such a thing here, that you're fired. What do you think? That means I'd be fired. Wait a second.
Am I getting high? Am I getting
tomorrow?
Did you notice I just got high?
Yeah, you're a little bit higher now. Look at you, look gigantic.
Hey, wait a minute.
You look positively threatening. Oh my goodness.
Jesus.
Woo!
Jesus. Wait.
That's insanity.
Okay.
Well, do you want to stand on the table while you do that?
Hold on a second. There we go. There we go.
One of the charts I want you to pull up today, show me Chiron. K-H-R-N.
I know the symbol.
You know the symbol?
I know the symbol.
Do you know the company?
I know the company.
You know what's going on with these guys?
Well, quite a bit, apparently. There's some serious players involved in this.
They're taking over South America. They're taking over Latin America.
They're putting a bid in, but they don't want Venezuela, though, I don't think.
Yeah, Venezuela is going to be fine soon. I mean, the end game is underway. Is it going to deteriorate into a regional war? No.
Into a brouhaha?
Is Russia exercising its ability to be a nuisance to the United States? Yes. Beyond that, is there any real risk of further deterioration of... No, I don't think so.
Let's look at the chart. Let's look at the chart. And
South America, Latin America has 540 million residents. So people like to say California is the biggest market in the world. It's like, well, no.
So it started to move here.
Brazil has 300 million people.
And then big day, little red candle, but nothing to get worried about. Big volume. Look at this.
Yeah.
And then today, though,
yeah,
new highs. There's your wick.
Big.
There's your tail.
Yeah, but look, the volume's bigger today.
No, it's usually been the biggest volume. If that happens to be the day of the biggest volume and it's a red candle, not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
Look at this thing's going to go back and test. There's going to be lots of time, but I mean, look, it's got to have a correction. If it doesn't, then it gets really dangerous. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if you ask me, the accumulation in the last 3 days are a bunch of traders now blowing it off because they've made like what?
Well, look,
50%
you could have
of the
bought
money.
it at $1.60, and you could have blown it off today at $3.13. Well, not $3.13. Say $3, $2.90.
$3.13.
And here it is now today, $2.58. So it's set a correction. Set a correction. I think it could pop on Monday morning, and then if you could have like a green, red, green.
Green, red, green. Go, dog, go.
The phone goes green, green. I pink it up.
Green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam.
And I say yellow.
You know, it's high time we paid some more attention to our audience, Ed.
Okay,
and,
let's do that. Let's do it.
Because, you know, we've got some real loyal folks here.
Okay.
Al Pacino is back.
Did they?
You know Al Pacino is a regular now?
Our loyal viewers, did they go to Loyola?
Anybody else laughing out? No, I don't think so.
Okay,
either,
Al Pacino.
Fully aware one. There we go. Hello, William Lay. Richie Rich. What?
Richie Rich?
Is that my good friend Rich D'Souza on the left coast?
Richie Rich, that would be sort of like Jimmy James.
Richie Rich says, tell the cannabis joke again, Ed.
Which one?
That's what I'm wondering. Which one?
The cannibal joke. Cannibals or cannabis?
Yeah.
Jeepers.
Cannibal, cannabis, cannabinoid, cannibal rector, cannibal
Try and sit
rector,
up.
damn near.
Okay, I think I'm going to sit up here.
Okay.
I'm bending over too much.
You know what? I'm going to tell you about some of the things that are coming up in terms of financial quarterly announcements coming up here. Aurora Cannabis, February 12th. That's almost 2 weeks from now. Neptune Wellness is going to be releasing results on February the 13th, and Jim Hamilton from Neptune Wellness will theoretically be with us either via Skype or in the studio on the day of or the day after. Canopy Growth Corp CEO Bruce Linton is putting out financial results in Q3 on Valentine's Day for all those who are in love with Bruce Linton and or Canopy Growth Corporation. That'll be fun. And Bruce Linton will either be in here or, no, he won't be via Skype. He hates Skype. But we'll try to get Bruce in the studio. Day of Supreme Cannabis CEO Nab Dhaliwal, I believe is now the CEO. Ooh. He's going to be here to announce or to describe or to articulate, enunciate the details, put some color into their Q2 financials on the 1st of March 2019. And then, of course, Canopy Rivers on the 1st of March will be putting out their Q3 results. Joining me now, without further ado, and with much fanfare, is the lovely and talented Alison Gordon, CEO of 48 North. Alison! Woo!
I'm excited. I'm coming back next week to see everybody. You've got some big guests on.
Big guests? You mean like tall, or you mean like...
I mean like big names.
Big names.
Everybody better watch. Well, you just like rolled off a list.
Oh, but that's some of those are, that's all starting in 2 weeks, actually.
Sorry, 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
We will be back.
Yes. Well, you know. How are you? What's new?
Oh my God, what's not new? Well, it's very cold.
Yes.
Yes, staying very warm. Everything's going really well. I just saw you out in Vancouver. I thought that was all very interesting.
The Canaccord Genuity Investor Day.
Yes, with the U.S. companies.
You asked a very pertinent and troubling question of a certain company that I really enjoyed hearing you ask.
I saw you smiling.
And that was surrounding the quality of outdoor grown and the ability of outdoor to yield on a similar scale with indoor operations, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that what that person was talking about with their company was one of their large facilities that ultimately, when it's fully functioning and everything's going well, I think they had said that they would be growing for about 90 cents a gram. Was that around what they were saying? But then they were also talking in their presentation about something I've talked about a lot, which is the next generation products, so that you see, 60 to 70% of the sales in the U.S. being the edibles, the vapes, the creams, the drinks, all of these things. So for me, as you know, at 48 North, we have our application in, and we have positive indication from Health Canada for the outdoor grow this summer. So the question that I was asking was, how will you compete in the extracted product game if you're growing at 90 cents a gram? I mean, won't the outdoor be extremely disrupted? And I think that you can see that the person was kind of didn't really quite know how to answer that question.
Not prepared, yes. But you own 48 North.
Yes.
Owns Soleil, correct?
No.
No?
We own Good and Green.
Good and Green.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Jeanette Vandermeer's company, who founded the Green Organic Dutchman.
Oh, I'm confusing. Boy,
No, I
it's so
think
hard to keep
Soleil
up.
is a brand, a sub-brand.
There's another sun-grown cannabis organic lady who is out there in our... No?
I'm not aware of who you're speaking of.
Boy, you know, things are moving so fast in this cannabis space. It's easy to lose track.
It is. Our understanding, I mean, again, MJ Biz reported that we were, according to their sources at Health Canada at that time, a month or so ago, the first and maybe only outdoor application. I don't think that's the case. I do know of a few others.
WeMD announced that they've got an outdoor grow permitted now with a cannabis license.
Okay.
And there's a couple of other small ones. There's one out in the West Coast. What are they called now? They've been on the show. Darn it. Can't remember, but
there are a few. I mean, I think some of the bigger LPs like CanTrust and I believe Aurora were doing a small, I'm not sure how large CanTrust is, but Aurora, I believe theirs is sort of a test run for the outdoor. For us, because Jeanette has such great experience in agriculture, so her family were the largest apple producers in Ontario, so she's grown up in large-scale agriculture. That's been a huge part of her experience. So for us, we're going for the full 100 acres. Well, it's about 88 acres when you take away all the fencing requirements, as you can imagine. But the interesting thing, James, that a lot of people don't realize is that 88 acres is actually something like 3 million square feet. So really, you're talking about an organic farm that we purchased for 1.5 million. The operating costs aren't extensive in any way, and we will get 40,000 kilos off that farm. So outdoor will change everything in Canada.
So will that outdoor product be available in the cannabis stores, the government cannabis stores on a recreational basis, or is it more geared for the
extracted
medical extraction?
Right. So it will. What we are modeling out is 10% of the grow for flower, and that's very conservative. I mean, I think you and I've discussed before what some of the product has looked like that we've gotten from some of the provinces, and doesn't look so dissimilar from outdoor. That's my way of saying that. But most of that will be for distillate and isolate and will be extracted. But that's what the market's going to need. I mean, we're already in this undersupply, and then you're now moving in October to the extracted products, the edibles and the vapes and all of these things. So how will it happen?
Right. One of our viewers is putting up a comment right now that they were pointing out how eloquent and knowledgeable you are, and you're great.
Thank you, thank you. That's nicer. Often I've come on and I see comments where people say, outdoor grow, don't you know this is Canada? And it's like, yeah, no, we're well aware. We're not talking about 5 crops a year. You're talking about one harvest season.
And with zero power costs, essentially.
Right. I mean, cannabis is meant to be grown outdoor, and you and I've talked about organic as well, which is really important.
The indoor-outdoor, which is better discussion is sort of missing the point in large degree, because the THC content of any given strain is based on its genetics, not on where it's grown.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, I think when you grow indoor and you can really control the environment, you can get higher levels of THC out of the genetics, right? So how a genetic expresses itself, if you and I grew from the same sort of seed family, we're not going to grow it the same way. We're not going to have the same results, right? And that's why you see the LPs have been selling each other genetics since the beginning of this program, but you don't see every LP having the exact same results. So indoor does allow for more controlled environment, but when we talk about taking the crop and extracting from it into the molecular level, then, you know, again, yes, you might need more of the outdoor plant to get what you would get from the indoor, but when you're growing at 3 cents a gram versus, you know, 90 cents, $1, $1.50, whatever it costs to grow indoor, it just does not make sense to use that product for your edibles and your vapes and your topicals or any of those things.
Right. What about the biosynthetics?
Whoa, you always bring this up.
Well, I love that discussion because, I mean, it's like...
How have you seen, and I always ask you this, that done on a mass scale at a cost-effective price? Because my understanding, yes.
Not as of yet, Alison.
Okay.
Not as of yet.
So yes, you're right, I guess if that comes around, but my understanding is for 30 years people have been trying to do that and they have not been able to do it in a cost-efficient way. That's, again, I'm not going to say this is my area of expertise,
right.
But I don't know if you've seen anybody do it in a mass way, right? As opposed to just a small...
No, it's just been done, well, it's been being done on an ever larger scale at 2 locations I'm aware of.
And the costs?
Well, the costs are obviously high because they're in the sort of development phase, so it's not like there's a commercial biosynthetic source of either THC or CBDs out there yet. However, the companies that have invested in them are, you know, not guys to throw around money lightly, and so I would be surprised, given the success that biopharma has had with growing insulin on genetically modified yeast, that they don't replicate the process over time. And whereas they may have been working on it for 30 years, with cannabis only really being legal for the last 2 years, they haven't had much runway. So we'll see, we'll see. I mean,
look,
for
the industry
a premium smoker, who cares about biosynthetics?
I was going to say, I mean, there's the pharma market, there's the therapeutic market, there's the recreational market, so we don't know. Yes, it's an incredible time. Like we always say, can you believe that you're living through this time where money is just being thrown into cannabis and
all over the place.
But we need you to come, like I just see the photo shoot with you with all the big trees outdoor, like it's just rolling around in the trees.
This weekend I'm setting up my 4-pod indoor hydroponic grow.
Are you really?
My seedlings are ready for transplant.
Okay.
I've got.
What are you growing?
Well, right now I've got, so I've got a bunch of clones, and I've got, now technically breaking the law because they're clones, but I'm going to obviously kill all but 4. I've got 2 Granny's Medicine, which is a CBD THC.
Okay, 1-to-1,
Not quite 1-to-1. I think it's 20 milligrams THC or 20% THC, 20%, 18% CBD. And then there's Black Rhino, which is all THC. Early Skunk, which is also an indica dominant, THC dominant indica, and then the other one's called Granny's Medicine, and it's 6 to 9% THC, 6 to 9% CBD.
Okay.
So which I'm growing because this is for me a very lightweight cannabis.
You're basically going to become an LP. I mean, it's actually quite interesting. No, it's really interesting because for the farm, we've been looking at which genetics. As you said, genetics are important. I didn't want to give the impression that the genetics aren't important. I just mean to say that how you grow it, it will express itself differently. But thinking about what genetics you are going to grow outdoor, like obviously we have a strong history of outdoor grow in the black market in Canada, but there really is only a few areas in Canada that cannabis can grow really well. So our farms in southwestern Ontario, and that's what they call the banana belt. So anywhere where you see people have grown more of the tropical fruits. And in southern BC, sort of Delta BC would be the other area. So what's interesting is that the latitude of the farm is quite similar to southern Oregon. So looking and speaking with those growers out there or Northern California about the types of genetics and having the year ahead of everybody else to kind of figure out the farm and how and what we're going to grow and to be able to phenotype and do that type of research, I think it's just the most exciting thing for me because we've already been, you and I, part of this revolution. So now I'm like, we need a new revolution. Let's go outdoor.
Well, I will look forward to coming out and shooting that.
Yeah, and rolling around in the. No, you will never roll around. I'm joking. You'll be wearing your full.
You know, technically that's kind of how they make hash in Afghanistan and Morocco.
They
send guys out with their burlap things and they, you know, walk through the buds like this. And I can see how that would work. In fact, I always thought that was interesting because it's like, oh, that's why that hash tastes the way it does. It's actually a combination of terps, THC, and burlap.
And sort of shoe tar to put it all together.
Sure, with a little bit
and
of
ship it.
sweat.
I know, you're looking forward to the hash day that it would be legal.
I really am.
When do you think that will happen?
Oh gosh, well, it's going to happen as soon as I finish my crop, I can tell you that, because I know how to make myself some green crack. What are your big catalysts that are unfolding right now for 48 North?
Well, definitely the farm is a huge one. Obviously, that would be a big game changer for us. So we have the Good and Green facility indoor, and we have our Dalshan facility indoor. So between those two, we can do about 4,500 kilos. So bringing in another 40,000 will be very big. But we're also working on product development, because this is what we've been waiting for, is October, being able to get really interesting, great products out there into the market. So I don't know if you're excited, but I am, that we're finally going to be able to have.
I can't wait to try your product.
Things. I know.
In fact, this weekend I'm having a small gathering at my house, which I'm going to send you an invite for.
Okay, please do.
And we're going to sample 12 varieties of OCS sourced cannabis.
Okay.
That I just took delivery of, and there's going to be a variety of methods for consuming it. Mostly restricted to smoking, because we didn't have time to make any edibles, and I didn't want anybody spending the night. So I thought no edibles.
But for you, are you more of a, do you use flower, or would you prefer to consume another way that you'll be able to?
No, I don't do edibles, because the unreliability and unpredictability of the onset and offset time.
But as we develop those products and you can know dosage and be more certain, do you think that
the other thing I don't like about the oral consumption of it is it tends to be more of a body stone, and I like to live exclusively in my head. It's all about my bubble up here.
I hear you, but it's interesting that you're a dying breed. Really, that's
don't say that.
Well,
that's true. That's interesting. Well, I don't know. I fully expect that in the backwaters, in the foothills of Humboldt and these places, there are second and third generation descendants of guerrilla growers who are, they're growing up as consumers and connoisseurs of premium dried flower.
But we can see that the sales of flower are only in and around 30% in some of these states.
True.
So something has shifted. I don't know.
30%, I think that the total effect of cannabis, all the benefits of it, can only really be enjoyed if you consume the whole plant. And so this idea where we're going to extract the THC, we're going to extract the CBD, we're going to extract the terps, and then we're going to put it all together in a better product. To me, I have yet to try a better product.
Well, I have my friend Mark Richardson, Bubble Man, who always says smoking the flower is like eating the pizza box. Because really, if you take the resin off the plant, obviously you're talking about maybe a whole plant extraction, then you're getting all of the medicine, all of the benefits are there, not necessarily just on the leaf. So you'll have to talk to him about that.
I will be happy to. I'm going to please extend the invitation to him so we can have that debate. But I would counter that with, you can get a lot of the benefits from carrots from consuming carrot juice, but if you eat carrots, there's so much more. Exactly. And so I would suggest that, I certainly wouldn't be one to say that we know so much about cannabis that it's safe to say that the matter is not really relevant. It's just these small group of terpenes and extracts and CBDs and exactly. So I mean, I'd love to have that debate with him.
I'm gonna call him and tell him to have it. But yeah, I think it's just an exciting time to be able to get all this conversation out here, which I can't believe. Every time I'm here, I'm going, we're just sitting here talking about cannabis, and to be able to run a cannabis company, and it's feeling like there's good momentum happening for everybody. I mean, I think the stocks are obviously doing a lot better.
They are.
Knock on wood.
They are.
And we're seeing a lot more volume, and I think people are starting to realize, for us, really that outdoor grow, we're getting a lot of calls. People want to know, they're going, how can you really do that? And when we explain how it works, they go, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, why would you not grow for 3 cents
so
a gram?
The first crop will be September, October?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I know.
Well, I'm going to come to the site and I'm going to help.
Are you going to harvest? We're going to need a lot of people harvesting.
I'll bring my favorite trimming scissors. I've still got my trimming scissors from the 80s and 90s that I put in a briefcase just because it was like they were my best scissors. They never got dull. They never got too gummed up.
And you got them forever?
And I've still got them.
Okay, well, bring them up, because one of my favorite things to do up at our facility, Dalshan, is to trim. So, we all go and be part of the harvest from time to time. And to me, it's just so relaxing to sit there and you have the whole plant, and then you have a bin, and then suddenly the bin's full. It's like,
All right, we'll be looking forward to that this year. Alison, we're going to leave it there for now. Thank you very much. We are going to look at a chart now. If you like the show, you'll love our website. Visit us at www.midasletter.com for interviews with key CEOs, cannabis news, and to subscribe to our newsletter. Okay, well, my computer's dead. There's no power in it. Hey, Alison, I'm going to send you. What are you doing tomorrow night?
Yeah, send it to me.
I will. Pardon? Oh, hi, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Hello, hello, hi, hi, bye, bye. Yeah, so Edward, what do you think? Outdoor or indoor for smoking weed recreationally? Which do you prefer? The quality of?
You know, I'm not that much of a connoisseur, to be honest with you. But I would think natural. I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. You're the expert.
No. There are no experts. There's only assholes who think they're experts. That's the way it is. Right. And whoa, you okay there? And then there's.
I want to get high, and I was getting low. I wanted to get high, but I was getting low.
Acrobats tend to get high. The argument is that you're going to get way better yields and a better product out of outdoor. Or indoor rather than outdoor, and I'm saying that I like to smoke outdoor, I like to smoke indoor.
The outdoor.
And, well, or baking. What about baking, Alison?
Baking
for
soda.
baking?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're extracting the resin off of the plant from the outdoor. I know you're going to like to smoke your indoor.
First time ever, we're having an argument with somebody who's not even on camera. That's freaking fantastic. Boy, this show just goes, and I love the way it's evolving. Ed, what about you?
You
know, if somebody just leaned over and kicked your chair, you'd fall right out. Whoa, a little aggro today, eh? So Ed, tell me about...
look at YOLO here, flying.
Yeah, we wanted to look at the chart of YOLO, soon to be POT.CSE.
Yeah, it's showing some very interesting...
Look at that. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. So... No, that's the chart of YOLO. The last one was the chart of Chiron. So, two of the highest flyers.
Look at this. This thing is now...
This is the Weekend Unlimited.
It's 27.5. This is a new daily high. It hit 27, pulled back. Now 27.5, going into closing.
Yep. What do you say, Ed? Is it going to keep going?
Well, it'll probably gap big.
Higher and higher, baby.
For a while.
It's a miracle.
I'd like to know how many shares are in this thing, but I'm not sure that...
Billions! No, it's not billions. There's 100 and some odd million out. 200 some odd million? I don't know. We'll look that up. We'll have that answer for you. You look it up. What does it say? What does it say?
It says a quarter billion.
Yeah, that's about right.
Billion.
250,000 shares. Million shares.
You know what? Let's put up a...
So here's the thing.
It's a one day. Look at this.
What's that? The 1 day chart?
It's a 1 day chart.
Intraday.
This thing probably gaps on Monday.
Yep.
And look,
you know what? The problem.
Well, sure it can, because the market cap is
How many shares traded?
It traded only 65 million shares. 65 million shares.
That's it? That's all she's got?
Just a tad.
No, so there's the thing. If this is the first day of a,
promo,
well thought out campaign to bring the awareness of the company to the attention of cannabis investors who are interested and for whom it is potentially an appropriate investment. This is day one of that promotion. And based on the performance of what these companies by the same group have done in the past, do you think this is as high as that's going?
No. It's going to go higher, but look, there's paper coming out on the free trading, becomes free trading on the 15th. That's going to add to it. I'd say it's going to run up as we get to that date, maybe. It's probably going to run 2 or 3 days. When you think, look at this, 28 cents now.
Yeah. Well,
28.
Giddy on up.
Look at this.
So is it safe to say that Chiron and the Weekend Unlimited are the best performers of the day or of the week?
No, you can't say that about Chiron because Chiron's down sharply today.
Well, a little profit taking, but still overall performance of the week.
For the week.
Intra-week.
Intra-week. This is the best performer of the day. If you go, I don't care what marijuana stock you're looking at.
You don't care
which
one?
Nothing's up 300%.
No?
Well, 250.
Okay. Very cool. I don't have a chart today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking at my looking at all of the people, all the beautiful people here. It's interesting. Hey, there's Troy Smith. Hello, Troy.
28.
Hello. And let's see, who else can we say hello to? Modern Picasso, one of our most loyal fans. Reefer AI Joint, probably the most loyal fan. Next to, well, him and Lou, Mr. Lou.
Mr. Lou from London, Ontario.
Oh, from London, Ontario, one of our stalwart viewers. Not London, England.
No. Cheerio. What's it like to live in London? Well, I think we got the Thames River.
So, Reefer AI Joint says, will YOLO experience a 5% decline on Monday?
5%?
5%.
You know what? I think it's going to gap open big on Monday. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
And then fill the gap. So if it opened at 40, I'd sell it and then try and buy it back at 30. Or something like that.
That sounds like you're predicting a share price above 40 cents intraday.
Well, you know what? Look, if it can do this today, this is the first day. How many people do you think are short this thing right now?
None.
Wrong.
Wrong?
Yeah.
How big's the short book?
I don't know.
Well, how do you know I'm wrong then?
I just know you're wrong.
That's impossible.
Because there's always people, there's always...
No, this stock was sitting at 12 cents with low volume, low interest, no movement. Why would anybody go short? It'd be the same question as asked, why would anybody go long this stock? It just woke up. It just came to life today. This is the beginning of a new day.
65 million is not coming to life. There's been a lot of paper change hands.
I would suggest 65 million is coming to life relative to the last few weeks. And given the fact that they won the lottery for the symbol POT, which in and of itself doesn't necessarily make a strategically interesting thing from a promotional perspective, buying that symbol and getting all that free press in the major news demonstrates to me a level of sophistication in the approach to marketing and communication with financial markets that is unprecedented in our sector, Ed.
Sector, what sector is it? Sector.
Ed, God is speaking to me now. God wants you to stick it in your ear. Because God is trying to communicate with you.
What are you trying to tell me there, Jesus?
That's not Jesus.
Stand up.
Oh, there we go. Steve.
So there was a guy. There was a guy who had a party once, and he was not very tall, so he was standing on a chair. And I think
this is one of your friends.
This is a bit of a joke. He says, he's got a bit of a Napoleon complex. So he stands on the chair.
What is a Napoleon complex? Is it a building of Napoleon-esque rooms, or
look, there's a thing called the Napoleon complex.
What is it? Explain it. Come on, we got nothing better to do. It's Friday.
Some people are.
Some people got.
I think Napoleon was about what, 5'3", maybe 5'4".
I don't know. What's wrong with that?
I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but I'm saying
it sounds like you are.
So anyway, this gentleman was probably 5'4", 5'5".
Yes.
And he stood on a chair.
Yes.
And the host of the party said, "Hey Vince, what's it feel like to be 5'10"? Like he was standing on a chair. What up in here? In other words, he was suggesting that you had to be there. You had to be there.
Great joke, Ed.
No,
wow.
It's not a joke. It actually happened. But the guy was up there pontificating.
He said it was a bit of.
He was sitting there holding court, and he was,
holding court.
He needed the chair.
Standing on a chair holding court.
He needed the chair to sort of tower above the crowd. And
at 5'10", how could he be towering above the crowd?
He was 5'4", standing on a chair, and the host said, "Hey, what's it like to be 5'10"? In other words, he was trying to suggest he was only like 4 feet tall. Anyway,
Bloody time.
I'm not telling any more jokes. I'm done. Oh.
You open yourself up for a lot of abuse there, Ed.
You know what? I got my own problems.
I know. So coming up in 10 minutes, we're going to have Mark Noble, the president of Horizons ETFs, here to give us a rundown on what's happening in the world of the Horizons MMJ ETF, and that's always an interesting conversation.
Can I put that chart up just to see what the that index is doing?
Sure, Ed, go for it.
Because that's really the way to play, you know, if you want to short.
Oh, sorry, he's the senior vice president, not the president.
Wow.
My apologies,
look at
my
this,
mistake.
Look at this, look at this.
What are we looking at here, Edward?
We're looking at the HMMJ.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at this move. I gotta.
So this is a great thing about the ETF is it moves in a sort of latent way against or in parallel to the broader cannabis market.
In other words, if let's say you were really bearish in this thing in the market and you didn't want to short a specific stock, you shorted this, okay?
Yeah.
And then.
Wait, we're about to have the guest on, and you're telling our viewers to short his ETF?
No, what I'm saying is if you would have shorted it here, look what I've done. You would have got destroyed here. It's moved from 14 bucks to 21 bucks.
Wow.
So it's up 50%.
Yeah.
So the index is up 50%.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying.
You are just saying. That's what you just said.
I'm not saying short.
You know we're having T-shirts done up that say "Just Saying" on the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
anyways,
we got a guest coming on?
We have a guest coming on. Coming up next, the Senior Vice President. Oh, yes, he is. He's out here.
Okay. Should I move?
No, not yet.
Okay.
You got to mic him up. You got to wire him for sound with all these little explosive devices, you know.
What if your name was Mike and you had to get mic'd up? What would they say? Mic up?
Mic up. Mic up.
Mic up.
Mic.
And if your name was Make, would they say makeup?
No, they'd say make mic up.
Because you're putting on makeup, you'd say make up.
Make mic up. Making up.
What's your point?
Making up is hard to do.
Neil Sedaka.
Another chart I want to look at.
Breaking up is hard to do. Breaking up is hard to do.
No, breaking up's easy.
Okay,
I've done it 1,000 times.
No matter what I say the opposite.
Okay.
James West is so intelligent.
Cutting over to our next guest. You tried to trap me there, didn't you, Ed?
Entrapment.
Oh boy.
You almost you didn't fall for it, did you?
No.
You're pretty quick, aren't you?
Well, you know. When it comes to humiliation, I run to it gladly.
Are you? Well, if you're not humble, you will stumble.
If you're not humble, you will stumble. Where did you get that one?
I just made it up.
That's like
just
from the 60s or something.
Yep.
So what other big moves were in the market this week that we should be looking at in a chart basis, Ed?
Yeah, I think Crone.
Well, we already looked at the Chronos chart.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
When?
I don't know.
You know what?
What are you, senile or something?
Yeah.
That's okay, me too.
I went to the optometrist today and got my eyes checked.
Yeah, what happened?
James, where are you?
All right, tell you what.
Tell me what.
None of this is making any sense. Okay, so put up a chart for me, Ed.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm going to interpret the chart. You're going to get the boot, and our next guest is going to join us, Mark Noble. This is how it's going to go. Okay, so you put up a chart. Oh no, because then you're going to take your computer away. That won't work.
But I'm trying to
figure out. I already said that.
Why isn't this?
Oh, well, like I said, coming up next, we have Senior Vice President of Horizon's ETF
I'm having
Management.
Problems here. I can't.
Horizon's ETFs Management is a financial services company and offers one of the largest suites of exchange-traded funds in Canada. Horizon's ETFs has more than $10.2 billion of assets under management and 85 ETFs listed on major Canadian stock exchanges. The company is a member of the Murray Asset Global Investments Group and trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the ticker HMMJ.
Thank you very much. I'm now joined by Mark Noble. He's the Executive Vice President of Horizon's ETFs. Mark, welcome.
Hey, great to be here.
You bet. Mark, it's your first time here.
Right.
And the Horizon's HMMJ is the symbol?
It's our big marijuana ticker, yeah.
Right. Okay, so now this ETF invests in a basket of cannabis stocks.
Right.
And they're all Canadian.
No, they're all North American.
Oh, okay.
It's just that the majority of listings globally are in Canada.
Right.
So Canada's ground zero for the majority of listings. So that index ETF is supposed to provide exposure to North America.
Okay.
But there's scant pickings when you go to the US because if you're in cultivation or distribution, you're actually illegally producing marijuana according to federal law.
Right. So HMMJ does not invest in companies that are operating federally illegally.
No, correct.
Which is all of the growers in the Americas.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, is the limited basket of mostly North American operators but Canadian companies, is that an advantage in terms of protecting the investors in the ETF from exposure that might still yet result by the fact that it's illegal federally in the United States?
I think, it is a big gray area. So you have a lot of people asking us, what do you think about U.S. exposure? And there's only like maybe a handful, I think 4 or 5 states now that are completely illegal. Most of the U.S. is liberalized. So at the state level, and when you look at surveys of investors and people in general from both ideologies, I mean, that's a really interesting thing. Whether they're Republican or Democrats, there seems to be an understanding that the prohibition of marijuana needs to come to an end. Yeah, for very clear reasons, we've chosen to have a TSX-listed ETF, which means that it won't have any U.S. exposure as per TSX listing standards. It's really important actually though for Canadian investors to know that according to the Canadian Securities Administrators, they're okay with Canadian listed stocks that have U.S. cultivation businesses as long as they're legal at the state level. So that's why the Canadian Stock Exchange has seen such a bonanza of stock listings. A lot of the big U.S. producers are actually listed in Canada. So Canada is very much ground zero for all global listings of marijuana companies because of that progressive framework. It's just that in order to be listed on the TSX, they have to fall in line and make sure that none of the distribution, direct cultivation is occurring that would be offside with federal law. So as a TSX listed security, we cannot hold companies with U.S. cultivation exposure. However, it is important to note that if you look on the CSE, for example, there are a lot of stocks that are what we call direct pure play into the U.S. market, and those are become very popular over the last few months.
Yeah. The largest Canadian company, Canopy, is now licensed to produce CBDs in the state of New York. Do you think that that is going to have a warming effect to the TSX in relaxing its rules about causing Canadian companies not to trade on the TSX or TSX Venture if they touch the plant in the United States? In that, now that CBD has been changed to a Schedule 5 drug, and as soon as there is a THC medicine that the FDA approves, it stands to reason that that too will become a Schedule 5 drug. At what point does the TSX ease up on the restrictions, especially since they're losing so much business to the CSE in the process?
Well, the TSX is an excellent partner of ours, so I don't want to go where they're thinking, but I mean they did give us guidance on the CBD aspect, and so any of the non-THC hemp that's legal under the new agricultural bill, those companies, my understanding, and they're allowed to do that. So what Canopy's doing with investing in CBD and hemp, that's not offside again. So I think there's a lot of openness that as you see more federal restrictions come off, then that allows for more flexibility for the companies to get listings. But of course, we have to then look forward that at a certain point, then the big stock exchanges in the United States, the Nasdaq, the New York Stock Exchange, they're going to get into that business as well when you start seeing federal legalization in the United States, if that occurs in the next 24 months. And then that's a whole different ballgame in terms of exposure. I mean, a lot of the reason that we've seen Canopy, Tilray in particular, Kronos do so extraordinarily well relative to the broader market last year was because of their U.S. listings. What was happening is by achieving that U.S. listing, much easier for U.S. retail investors. I mean, and you do need to understand that the vast majority of wealth, more than any other sector we've ever seen in the capital markets, apart from maybe cryptocurrencies, is self-directed investors buying these. And in the U.S., which is 10 times the size of Canada, we saw huge flows coming out of last summer into those U.S. listed stocks. And so just by nature of having a U.S. listing increases the potential for the stock by tenfold in terms of the number of investors. So, again, while Canada has an advantage, our advantage right now exists because of that regulatory arbitrage, the fact that we can build a capital markets for our marijuana industry globally in Canada. But as soon as that federal legalization is gone on the U.S., then you have to realize that all steam ships ahead in terms of making a huge impact on a myriad of listings, and very quickly that market could take off and be in excess of $100 billion.
Sure. When do you see that happening?
Well, I don't want to go into the minds of politicians. What I do find really interesting is that, we've seen how successful the global market has been in terms of how much money is going to be made, even just on medical.
Yeah.
I think most numbers in the medical market are kind of putting at around $50 to $60 billion. And when you talk to the big companies, that's really where they want to go as well. Because at the end of the day, growing marijuana itself is an agricultural crop, and that's obviously that naysayers, people like to short this sector, are against. The part they miss is that the IP aspect, when it comes to the pharmaceutical aspect of it, is extraordinarily lucrative. It's a pseudo, or in some cases, a straight up pharmaceutical drug. So you have the ability to have that IP and charge a lot more from a margin perspective. So there's a lot of money. I mean, Canada as a total market is maybe capped out at about 22 billion. But you could grow another 55 to 70 billion on the global medical, not even recreational market. And so we're already seeing big inroads happening in Germany, Israel, Australia, Denmark, and South Korea recently did medical marijuana. The UK looks like it's ready to roll out medical marijuana. These aggregate markets are massive. I can't see the United States, where at the core of what they do is capitalism, wanting to give that to all these other nascent providers when they have a lot of infrastructure already in place, because they did have first mover at the state level. So there's a lot of brain trust, a lot of well-established infrastructure for them to get involved. They're just being hamstrung by the fact that they can't get the capital markets funding by not using the US capital market system.
Interesting. Mark, that's a great bit of perspective there, and so we're going to leave it there for now and come back to you in due course. Thank you very much. Next up, we are looking at Ed coming back and taking apart, in his inimitable and fascinating way, another chart. But in the meantime, here's what's coming up next week. Jeff Bennick from Aphria Health is going to be here. Chris Naprawa from Chiron Life Sciences is going to be with us. Sean Dollinger from Namaste Technologies will be here. And a whole lot of other really interesting people. Todd Harrison, CB1 Capital Management, a regular contributor, is joining us again. Todd runs the CB1 Capital Fund in the United States, one of our more knowledgeable individuals when it comes to the US market. David Attard will be joining us from Pharma Cielo Limited, a new issuer. And then Jeff Mazer, who was going to join us today but decided to opt for Monday because I had to wait. I had to miss the interview today. He's going to be back on Monday. So that's next week, Ed. What do you say about that?
Is that weekend or weekend?
Weeked.
Weekend?
Note I extracted the N and I created week Ed.
And if you change the D to an N, you get weekend.
If you change it back, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you put a T in front of it, you get tweaked.
Tweaked, like tweaker. T.
So, Action Jackson, I mean,
Yes.
this YOLO, it could pop dramatically. I got a funny feeling.
Yep, good. Now you're talking.
Now I'm talking.
Now
Wait
you're
a minute,
talking.
wait a minute.
Full disclosure, I almost forgot to mention, I do own shares of the Weekend Unlimited. And
You do?
I do.
Where was I when I ever got the call?
Well, the call was being made broadly back in, what was that, November? No, December? I can't remember, but we all flew down to Jamaica to check it out. And we visited they have a Jamaican plantation where they're growing. So
I heard it was
the
quite-
Weekend
quite
Unlimited.
the-
You know what the Weekend Unlimited is in terms of the cannabis market?
Yeah.
It's basically a diversified
You asked
portfolio.
me a question, I say, yeah, let me finish.
Well, I wasn't going to let you step on that rake.
You only live once.
Okay, so it's a diversified portfolio of different cannabis things.
Right.
So they have like their
Am I right?
cultivation, and well, you only live once, but they're changing that symbol now to pot because they bid for and got the pot symbol that was apparently up for grabs. A brilliant move, if I was to say, a very sort of marketing-minded management team. Anyway, so these guys have multiple divisions. They've got a travel division. So what they're going to do, and this is part of it, is you get to jump on a plane, fly down to Jamaica, get wined and dined and whisked off to a plantation where they're growing marijuana, and you'll be given some hash, you'll be able to smoke weed, there'll be the rum and the coke, the music's a grumping and bumping and a grinding, the girls with the big hats are handing you the drinks, and the party is on.
Did you say hats or something that rhymed with hats?
Hats. Ed, this is not one of those cheap
Tawdry?
sexist
You know the word-
tawdry shows.
Do you know where
This
the,
is a classy joint.
you know where the word tawdry comes from? It comes from the
Tawdry soup?
saint. It comes from a saint. This is a true story.
saint?
Yeah.
Do tell.
Saint Audrey. Saint Audrey was she became a saint, and she dressed, she was very, very poor, did a lot of work for the poor people, and she dressed in a very shabbily way, and Saint Audrey became saint, and then you put the thing together and you get tawdry.
But doesn't tawdry imply? I don't know. I don't even want to go down that road. That's just crazy.
It implies very poor, dressed poorly. Let's see.
Yeah.
Am I right there of control room?
So that's their one business line, is the Jamaican marijuana, which they will also be exporting. They have a line of drinks, energy drinks in the state of California. They are the biggest cannabis candy manufacturer in California. They have grow operations in British Columbia and in Washington. And this is why I think the company is going to start to make its move. Anyways, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Yes, I do own shares. Yes, they have been a client and they are a client and will continue to be a client. So I guess that makes me imminently untrustworthy. Because I like to buy stocks that go down. Edward.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you.
Ask me.
We had Anthony Durkach on, and he told me that FSD Pharma is moving to the New York Stock Exchange. Now,
it is.
He said by the end of Q2 2019 at the latest. Or in the next 2 quarters, he said, so that make it by the end of Q3.
That's pretty impressive. I'd say that's extremely
Does the stock
impressive.
reflect a company moving to the NYSE? Why don't we pull up the FSD Pharma chart here? And as usual, if you have any questions, you peoples in the audience, and would like to ask us anything, you just put those comments into the chat room on the YouTube channel or on our website, and we will endeavor to bring them up and answer them in as expedient a manner as possible.
So, right off the hop here, I got to say this.
What?
And I did say this, I think, when you were away, but you saw the big drop here, a break in the trend, nice little saucer action here. Saucer, there's a smile for you.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing it again. And this time, it never went as low. So this is actually, it looks very constructive. This has got nothing to do with anything except looking at the chart. I'd say, it looks like it's ready to go.
So you mean it could take another leg higher?
It could, and and we just saw with YOLO. Now this has got a lot more shares, so that may be a bit of a problem. That may be a bit of a problem. But look, if did he say this on the show to you that this was going to happen, that they were going to try?
Yeah. And he said it with a very serious look and straight face. Boy, look at Aphria, closed at 12.59. Up $1.18 on the day. Does that kibosh the Green Growth Brands Aphria tie-up?
Yeah. What's GGB doing today?
Well, so GGB is basically sort of sideways around the 530 mark. Last I looked. Pull up that chart. Let's see what it's looking like.
GGB.
No. GGB on the CSE.
CNX. No. Oh yeah, I made a mistake here.
And anyways, so in some media circles, Peter Horvath, the CEO of Green Growth
down
Brands,
to 470 3 days ago. It's now 576.
Yeah.
So it had a big run, corrected, and now running again. I mean, this marijuana space is
frothy,
very hot again.
Yeah.
Very hot again.
Interesting. What changed at the beginning of the year to reignite it? Because we look at, I mean, look at if we do a chart of the large cap cannabis index,
right,
and the S&P 500,
right,
they're kind of in lockstep in that as goes the S&P, so goes the cannabis sector generally. With the odd day where they actually trade on a non-correlated basis, they trade opposite each other. But in general, the general trend has been upward for the S&P since beginning of the year. The trend has been upward for the cannabis industry. Now the cannabis industry is obviously tacking on a lot more value than the S&P, at least in terms of percentage year to date. But do you think that a reversal in the S&P would more or less signal the end of the bear market, or the bull market rather, now in Canada?
That's a very good question, and that's what I'm going to ruminate on this weekend.
Oh, ruminate.
Yeah.
Do you know what ruminate means?
Well, I think it means to ponder, doesn't it?
Well, I thought, isn't it ruminating when a cow processes what he's chewing in his cud? That's actually rumination.
Okay.
And that class of animals was actually called ruminators.
Actually, no, but
this is a conversation we should be having over a beer.
There's a name for a cow has 3 stomachs, as you know.
4, and some 5. They can. Have you never seen a 5-stomach cow?
No,
you haven't. Boy, you haven't really lived, have you?
There's a term for that.
I thought you were from the prairies.
There's a term for that classification of mammals.
Ruminant.
That's what it is.
Ruminant.
It's
not ruminator.
No, you had me going there. I didn't think it was ruminator, but it's
the
ruminator.
ones with 5 stomachs are ruminators. The ones with 4 stomachs or less, ruminants.
And what about 3?
3, ruminant. Anything that chews a cud from 1 or more stomachs is a ruminant. I'm just making that up.
I think you're
just
making
so you know, I'm just making that up.
No, but they have 3 stomachs, okay? Let's not be confused. And that's
4.
what they do. The food goes in one.
Polling of the audience. How many stomachs does a cow have?
I say 3.
That says 3. We're going to get the control panel up on, or the control room on the Google machine.
Hey, let's turn up the control panel.
And let's see. We're going to see what our audience says. We're just a couple minutes behind. Wait a sec. Aurora's been halted. How did Aurora? What? What could be happening to Aurora? Could it be that the merger, that a major investment is coming from? No.
It's halted?
It's halted.
Friday night?
On a Friday night. That means the news must be getting ready to come out tonight. I wonder what the news is.
Get out. Wait. What's the song?
Like a virgin.
No.
Ooh.
No, not that one.
Touched by the very first time. Like a virgin.
This is we're
feel your heart.
Oh Jesus! How many cows? I want to know how many cows have. How many cows are there in the stomach?
Well, okay, the results are coming in, and we got 3 stomachs from one person. 4. We got another 4 from Mr. Green Thumb 420 says 4. Doug H. Berman says 4 stomachs. I'm sorry, as the consensus is 4 stomachs here. Actually, Mary Kemp says 9. Nice. Simon Cleary says 4 stomachs. Ivan Black says 7 stomachs. Okay, so let's just say that the audience is widely divergent. However, Miss Suzanne Garcia, who is strapped right in to the matrix, has come back with the fact of 4 stomachs.
It's 4.
4 stomachs. So
Jesus.
Mary Kump, not 9 stomachs. Ivan Black, not 7 stomachs. However, those are the funniest responses. Somebody agreed with you and said 3 responses, but it was only one guy.
Yeah, well, I classify the rumen and the reticulum as 1.
Yeah.
And under my classification, so I'm right. 3.
Oh, I see. Anyways.
Unchewed food travels in the first 2 stomachs, the rumen and the reticulum, where it's stored until later. See?
Wait a sec. It's not halted. Everybody says not halted. What? Okay, somebody just put up something there that was not true. Damn it, and me and my big stupid eyeballs just cottoned right onto it and said, why is Aurora halted? Aurora's not halted. Don't be silly, wabbit. Aurora. So anyways, quickly, end of conversation, end of week conversation. Atai Life Sciences.
Atai?
Yes. Reefer Al Joint or Green Growth, I can't remember. One of these guys told us to look at Atai Life Sciences. Oh, it was Gervastinaftum 666. Gerfenaftenboom.
And what's the...
So their stated mission, listen to this. Our mission is to spearhead humanity's process of enhancing itself in an act of its own creation by focusing on mental health and longevity fueled by AI. We enable people to live longer, healthier, and happier lives. Now, it goes on to say, we have a special passion for psychedelics.
What's the ticker?
It's not a public company. It's a private company.
Okay.
And you can't look it up. Well, can you imagine a public company saying, we're actually studying magic mushrooms by eating them? That would be illegal.
Now, you're a bit of a farmer. P-H-A-R-M-E-R.
Farm. I've farmed cannabinoids.
Yeah,
I've farmed psilocybin.
Oh, by the way, did you notice AMX closed on a little bit of a burst?
Did it? Yeah. End of day. Yeah, well, that's because there's a press release coming, I suspect. Do you think that might be the case? Drill results
well,
could be
you know what?
imminent?
You know what? Whenever they, I think I've gotten to know Victor better, and he's... Yeah, I think
Victor's the CEO.
Victor's the CEO, major shareholder. He's probably saying that we're expecting news next week on that hole that hit the zone.
Yeah,
which he said publicly.
Right.
So let's see what happens. But it was trading like nobody cared, and all of a sudden, right late in the day, 63, 64.
Beautiful.
That's the highest it's ever been, by the way. That's also
up to 67.
64.
Oh,
I think it had one small print at 64.
So this company, we're going to start following it, and I would like to make an investment if anybody's watching.
Into what?
In Atai Life Sciences.
But it's private.
Yeah, I know. But how do you think private companies keep going? Investment.
Oh, I was wrong. It closed at 62.
Oh. Anyways, so these guys also have they're exploring ketamine through one of their portfolio companies.
That's the K. That's K. That's the horse tranquilizer.
Special K.
How did I know that?
Probably because you've done it a little bit in your day.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have.
Have you? How do you like the ketamine effect?
Whoa.
I never enjoyed ketamine.
I did it once.
Ketamine disables me too much.
Oh, it's hard to get back to your seat in time.
Well, that's why it's so called sitting in a K-hole.
Yeah, it's wicked shit.
Yeah, no, heavy. Well, if they're exploring mushrooms, you think they're also exploring like peyote and maybe ayahuasca?
Did you ever read the books by Carlos Castaneda about?
As a matter of fact, I grew up consuming all of those books. In fact, I've read half of them twice, believe it or not.
Yeah, I was turned on to those books at a very early stage.
I used to actually eat psychedelics and do some of the experiments in those books.
When I started reading those books, I don't think you were born.
That's quite possible.
It is quite possible.
That's quite possible.
Because I think I was about 15 years old.
Really? I don't think so. 15 years old. I thought they published those in the 70s. Because I
could have been 18. I could have been 18, which meant you would have been born. You would have been a...
Yeah, but I read them when I was like 20.
Okay, well.
20-something. Ketamine is described in the journal Science as arguably the most important discovery in half a century of research on depression. R-ketamine is anticipated... Oh, R-ketamine. Okay, well, this is interesting to me. Because imagine, you think there's been a lot of value creation with the advent of cannabis. Just imagine how much value creation would happen if they started legalizing all the psychedelics and actually found good medical uses for them.
Well, didn't somebody say that, somebody said that alcohol is far worse than LSD, far worse than...
Could be.
You know what I mean? Like alcohol, anyways, which is legal.
Coming up next week, Ed and Jim will be doing the show High on Magic Mushrooms and Ketamine.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Anyways, thought you might enjoy some of our outtakes that actually we didn't bleep out, so they're actually bloopers is not really appropriate. They're not really
bloopers.
It's just more of the some of the more ridiculous
funnier
things. Well,
funnier.
I can't wait to see it, though. It's always a little bit more embarrassing.
I get a little. I blush.
Anyways, we're gonna go out on our bloopers.
I can't believe.
I hope you enjoy them. Thank you everybody for watching. Enjoy these.
I just want to say I can't believe.
I'm Fraser. With me is Ed. Ed, how are you?
I'm fine, Fraser.
Excellent.
I just took delivery of a brand new Fender guitar.
Jesus. Is it Fraser and I or Ed and I? It depends who says it, right? You think money makes you happy?
Well, I can tell you one thing, not having money makes you miserable.
But let's think of a band, name for the band.
How about Gaga Guys?
Country boys hanging around.
Cool Dad and the Family Secrets is...
No, Uncle Dad.
Uncle Dad.
How about family fun?
Gaga for Goo Goo. Daddy Brother.
Whoa. Jeez, I need to see a dentist. Nice shirt. That's a nice shirt.
Thank you. Actually, it's a Hugo Boss. Santana 426.
Well, you wait to see a bobble, or you wait for
a bobble. Not a bangle?
A bobble.
A bobble.
Like a bobblehead. You see? Hey there. It's time to short.
You don't want to talk to me like that. No, I'm just kidding. Round now. And then they do, they're probably going to do an RTO round.
What do you think I'm doing right now?
I think you're cleaning your eyebrows like a cat.
I'm preening them.
Preening? You're preening them. I just want to caveat all this with we are not analysts. We are age 55. I'm a fucking YouTuber.
Yeah.
Going to lose my voice if I keep barking like that.
What do you call a guy laying on a floor?
Tile?
Mat.
Oh.
There you go.
You know what always kind of bothered me?
What's that?
That the word analyst starts with A-N-A-L. No money, no honey, no funny.
Too much money being spent on cannabis. Everybody should stop smoking weed and get back to work. Now I pound the pavement and go look for opportunities in the skyscrapers they built.
Mm-hmm. Which one? What's that?
The skyscrapers, the tall buildings. No.
What, wax on? What? No, paint on, paint off. Wait up. What do you call a guy sitting in a hole?
It's gonna.
No. Ed, who would you rather sleep with? A, your wife, and you say B. Okay, just do that.
So
okay?
Ed, who would you rather sleep with? A, your wife, or B?
B.
Ed, you're going straight to hell.
I know.